What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Today it is time for the week 28 Premier League predictions, and I do want to give a quick shout out to the new members of the TF90 Super Tipsters Members Club. That's Fortune Adios rejoining as a silver member, Strike.94 and Blaze Kawul. Thank you so much for joining the Members Club using either the join button or the link in the description. I really do appreciate the support, and I hope you're enjoying the members only post. The last two rounds of weekends of tips and stuff, we've had some accumulator winners. We had 75% success rate for the first weekend, which was just really good. That's a very good amount. And then just over 60% success rate with the tips in the recent week. So again, looking fairly strong. And also, I do want to give a shout out to Manish Thaper or Thapper, who left their predictions on the previous video. So if you want a chance to be featured in the next episode, then get your predictions down in the comments below for the upcoming fixtures in week 28. They had some really good predictions, just like I did, predicting the Southampton 2-0 win against Norwich. They predicted the Villa 2-0 win against Burnley, but they were also one of the only people that predicted Man United to drop points at Watford, along with West Ham winning 1-0 against Wolves. So overall, bravo, fantastic performance. Now let's delay no further and get into the week 28 Premier League predictions, because that's what we're all here for. So kicking it off, we do have Leicester up against Leeds. Now, Leicester, you could argue they turned a little bit of a corner after finally getting their first Premier League victory since December, I think, against Burnley. And Leeds are getting battered everywhere they go. Leeds are not winning games. They're getting stuffed. They have injury issues. Bielsa's gone. It's not going to get much better for Leeds. I think they'll manage to find a goal from somewhere, because that just sums up Leicester's season defensively. But Leicester are going to win this game, and I'm fairly confident of that. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Leicester. However, Leeds, first game since Bielsa's been sacked, they'll think Leicester are vulnerable, because Leicester are vulnerable. So I think I'm more confident that Leeds get a goal than perhaps the result and both teams to score, I guess. My tip is going to be both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.83. Now, after that, we have Aston Villa up against Southampton. Villa getting a very good result against Brighton at the Amex Stadium. Brighton dipping a little bit in form, really. And Southampton just doing Southampton things. They're in very good form. I thought they were always going to beat Norwich. I said in my video it was as close to a guarantee as it gets, without literally being able to guarantee something, because football is never a guarantee. This one's going to be interesting. It's going to be close. Southampton are looking very decent, and I don't see them losing this game. I struggled to back them away from home against Aston Villa to take the 3 points, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I had two sort of tips. The first one, both teams to score at 1.66, but I've gone for a little bit of value because I think they are capable, and if they do show up and win, this tip comes in as well. My tip is Southampton to win either half at 1.9. So if they're 1-0 up at half time, you win the bet, you take the money. Even if they lose, you win the bet. And if they draw, it could still end that way. And of course, if they win, it also comes in as well. And 1.9, I thought those odds were very good, given how good Southampton have looked recently. Now, after that, we have Burnley up against Chelsea. Games between these two teams typically fairly straightforward for Chelsea. I don't see too much changing here. Burnley are in a bit of trouble, and I think Chelsea are one of the teams that defensively should definitely be able to deal with Burnley's attack, albeit more exciting than perhaps it has been in recent seasons. I think Chelsea are going to get the job done, but it won't be without the struggle. I could see this being 0-0 at halftime. Last time I predicted a correct score halftime and a correct score full-time for Chelsea, I predicted it exactly right. I predicted 1-0 halftime, 2-0 full-time to Chelsea against Lille in the Champions League, and that came in. So I think it will be 0-0 halftime and 1-0 full-time to Chelsea. My tip is Chelsea to win and under 3.5 goals at 2.05. If Chelsea wins 1.5, if you just add under 4 goals or under 3.5 goals, you get that to over evens. I think that's a really good increase, which encompasses the 1-2, 3-0 win, the 2-1 win as well. I think those are very likely scorelines. The only way I see that not coming in is if it ends in a 1-1 draw, which is still quite unlikely. Now, after that, we travel back to a rejuvenated St. James's Park for Newcastle up against Brighton. Had you asked me to predict this game 3 months ago, I would have said a 1-0 win to Brighton. But Newcastle, they got that new lease of life, and they are playing well now. They have that. It's more than a manager bounce. It's an everything bounce. It's a belief bounce. It's an out of the relegation zone bounce. It's just a big bounce. And I think Newcastle can continue this run of form. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle. I thought Newcastle were very impressive in the way they dealt with Brentford. Obviously, the red card perhaps made it a little bit easier for them, but I thought Newcastle were good. And Brighton, on the other hand, they lost to Aston Villa, which was very unexpected for me. Brighton don't tend to travel away as well. Especially, I remember a few seasons ago, Brighton's away record was dreadful. So I'm actually just going to tip Newcastle to win at 2.55. 2.55. And that value is pretty outrageous. However, Newcastle have never beaten Brighton in the Premier League. They beat them in the Championship a few seasons ago, but every time they've met in the Premier League, it's been either a draw or a Brighton win. So I'm going for Newcastle's first ever Premier League win over Brighton. After that, we have Norwich up against Brentford. It seems I've got a soft spot for home teams that begin with the letter N because I'm once again going for a home win. I'm backing my first Norwich win of the season. I think this would be the first time I back a Norwich win. Brentford look out of ideas. They look lost. Norwich have to take advantage of this defeated Brentford side. They just have to. And we've seen it in glimpses throughout the season, just not consistently enough. Norwich can win a game. They can do all right, and they can score goals. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Norwich against Brentford to just really spice things up. I think Norwich need it more. And I think at home, knowing that they can do it, I think they'll probably want it more. So my tip is going to be Norwich double chance and over 1.5 goals at 2.1. That encompasses the very likely scoreline in my head of a 1-1 draw. I don't see this being 0-0 with the way these two teams play. I just don't. And I think Norwich will go for the jugular in this game. So yeah, very rare that I speak so glowingly about Norwich, but I suppose that just reflects poorly on Brentford as opposed to glowingly on Norwich, I guess. After that, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers up against Crystal Palace. Wolves, they've had a good season. They have had a good season. It's unfortunate for them, of course, that they lost to West Ham. I think the problem with Wolves, I was watching that game and part of me thinks, I know Wolves are so defensively sound and they are. It's a real struggle to break down Wolves and beat Wolves. But when they go 1-0 down, they play on the attacking side so much better. And that makes sense because they have to go for the win. But I feel like if they could just move the goalposts a little bit, the way they play at 0-0, and instead of playing at 0-0 like they're holding a lead and just trying to keep a clean sheet and then get the one goal they need to win, if they just played a little bit more like they were losing, just a little bit, they don't have to sacrifice too much at the back. They're still very good defensively. And when they were going all out attack on West Ham, they didn't look like conceding either. So if they just attacked a little bit more and just shifted their focus a little bit, I think they could be even better. So I do, with that being said, I think Wolves are just going to get this win here with that solid defensive shape. And I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Wolves. And I could easily see this ending 0-0. So my tip is going to be both teams not to score or both teams to score no at 1.7. That's better odds than under 2.5 goals. And it definitely could not happen. I could see this being a 1-1 draw, but Wolves, they are good defensively, so I'm just going to keep backing that narrative. Now, after that, we have Liverpool up against West Ham. I think Liverpool are going to win this game. West Ham got a brilliant result against Wolves, as we just mentioned, but Liverpool are too good. They're chasing down Manchester City in a title race, and I think Liverpool are going to win at Anfield. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Liverpool, and my tip is Liverpool to win and both teams to score at 2.75. I predicted that score and that prediction and that tip before looking at any of the recent data between the two teams, and despite this being valued at nearly 3, which is crazy, this tip has come in 3 of the last 4 Premier League games against West Ham. And the other one, both teams did score, but West Ham managed to win 3-2. So every game in the last 4, both teams have scored. There's been over 2.5 goals, and 3 out of 4 of them, Liverpool came out on top. It's at Anfield. It's all to play for. Liverpool are going to win this game, so I thought that is some value there. Now, speaking of value, we have Watford up against Arsenal. Now, to be fair, with this tip, it was a bit of a coin toss as to how you think it's going to go, and perhaps the Arsenal fan in me made me take a more reserved, sort of pragmatic approach. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Arsenal win. I think Arsenal look great. They look favourite odds on to finish into the top 4, which would be fantastic. So I've gone for the 2-0 Arsenal win. I was looking at the half-time, full-time market, and initially I was like, Arsenal half-time, Arsenal full-time, because Watford are pretty dreadful. But we saw the resilient way they managed to keep out Manchester United, albeit Man United fluffed their lines a lot, and Man United should have won the game against Watford. Arsenal have in the past, perhaps less this season, but in recent seasons, been the type of team to be drawing at halftime and then come out strong in the second half. It's a key thing I associate with Aubameyang, actually, even though he's obviously going to play he's playing for Barcelona. He's absolutely smashing it, which as an Arsenal fan, I do like to see. But I think Arsenal will keep a defensively solid shape. The way I see it, it's going to be either 1-0 half-time and 2-0 full-time, or 0-0 half-time and 2-0 full-time. So because the value is there, my tip is going to be draw half-time, Arsenal full-time at 4.33. Just do it as a little single. Or if you do back Arsenal to really dominate Watford, then perhaps go the half-time full-time at 2.5. But I thought 4.3, it's hard to look past that for just a little single. Now, after that, it's the Manchester derby. Man City up against Man United. Now, Man United do have a better record against Man City than most other teams, and perhaps you could say that is the kind of derby vibe, derby atmosphere. Man City will know the result of the Liverpool-West Ham game. Man City will therefore be aware that Liverpool beat West Ham. I'm just going to say that like it is. So they're going to want to win this game at the Etihad. There's been too many times in recent history where some say Guardiola overthinks things. Man City just fail to show up. Man United do show up. I think Man City are actually going to win this one. I really do. I think Man United, I could see them getting a goal from somewhere. My original prediction for this game was 2-0 to Man City. But Man United do tend to turn up somewhat in the Manchester derby. But I'm just going to give it to Man City. They're a better team. They have better players. And I think they're just going to take the win. So I'll go for a 2-1 win to Man City. But this game, in the narrative of the game, the winner, so difficult to predict. It could end 0-0. It could end 1-1. It could end 2-0 to Man United. So in an attempt to combine all of those likely outcomes, my tip is under 3.5 goals at 1.53. So the only way this doesn't come in is if Man United get battered 4-5-0, or Man City get beat in a high-scoring game, which is very unlikely. So I don't care which way this goes, to be honest, just as long as there's not 4 or more goals. And I don't think there will be, because there is that tense derby atmosphere. Maybe look at the yellow card market. Maybe look at there to be a penalty in the match. Those sorts of things, that could be very likely. Goals, not so much, I don't think, unless one team really fails to show up. But they typically do in the Manchester derby. Obviously, I'm mainly referring to Man United here because the onus will be on them to probably keep the goal scoring down. Now, the final game of the game week is Tottenham up against Everton, and I think Tottenham are going to win this one. Everton are looking woeful, and I mean, surely they're not going to get relegated. You would think surely they're not going to get relegated, but they are definitely in a relegation scrap, which is crazy to think about, but their form is abhorrent. It's appalling. Their away record is terrible, winning only 1 game away from home all season. And Tottenham, they've got a bit of a bounce about them. Obviously, they beat Leeds. They crashed out of the cup to Middlesbrough, but that's just something Big Six teams do nowadays, apparently. But I don't think they'll let that get to them for this game. They have a top 4 race on themselves that they'll want to look out for, and I think they will get the job done against Everton. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Tottenham. My tip is Tottenham to win at 1.57. So that is going to do it for the week 28 predictions of the Premier League. If you did enjoy this video, please do drop a like, subscribe so you don't miss a future video, and yeah, that is going to do it from me. Leave your predictions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.